Hey there friends, it's Marie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm using the Spellbinders small die kit for the month of June. So here are all the dies that you get in the small die kit. It's this really cute little gloved hand, and one of these dies I still have some paper in because I'll be using that for today's video. But you have these two little hand pieces that layer together. You get some stems and some leaves and all of these little flower pieces that layer together, and you can create some really fun flowers. So I've already gone ahead and cut out a lot of these pieces, and I'm just showing you what these cutouts look like after you cut the dies. I've cut these out of Bristol Smooth paper because I'm using my Zig Cling Color brushes today to color them for a little bit of a watercolor effect. And Bristol Smooth paper is the best paper I've found to work with zigs. So you get all of these little pieces that layer together. You can see you get different centers for your flowers. And you also get a flower that has 4 little different petal pieces, and I'll be showing you how to assemble that one. I really love that flower because it gives you some dimension and it's just really pretty after you color it. So that's this flower here, excuse me. You have this larger petal that you put in front and 2 tiny petals that go on the sides, and it gives you a flower with dimension, and it's just really pretty. You also get some leaves that you can color and put on the sides. Now, I'm coloring my die cuts today, which is one way you can do it. You can also cut these out of colored cardstock and just layer them up that way as well. So different ways you can do it. If you don't have any coloring mediums like zigs, you can always even ink blend these little die cut pieces. Now I've already made a card here, and I'm going to be making another card today in a similar style, but I wanted to show you kind of where we were headed. I've also added a sentiment with the Glimmer kit for June, and I'll show you that kit in this video as well. So if you're excited to make this card, give a thumbs up and let's get started. So like I mentioned, I already have some paper in this little hand die here. I'm just going to go ahead and take that out, and I'm layering it on top of my bottom gloved piece. Now I think this is really a cute little hand. You can go ahead and color this with any kind of colors you want. You can cut it out of colored cardstock. I just like that little gloved hand. It made me think of a white glove holding a flower. So I've actually cut it out of a little bit of ivory. So it's going to look a little bit of a different shade than the white cardstock I'm putting it on for my card base. But I'm putting a little bit of my Journey glue on the back of this piece, and I'm just layering it on top of that hand. Just going to kind of shift it around, get it into place before that glue dries. And you can see in the die there's another really tiny piece. That's that little tip of that finger, and I'm just going to pop that out and layer that on. So when you're die cutting that little hand piece, maybe keep an eye on that tiny little piece so you can layer it on. Mine conveniently stayed in the die, so I didn't have to pop it out until I was ready to use it. But it would be an easy piece to lose, so just keep an eye on that when you're cutting it. I like to use my tool-in-one to kind of move around those tiny pieces and get them into place before my glue dries. So like I mentioned, I'm going to be using my zigs to color these dies, adding a little bit of watercolor look to these flowers. So I am using my Bristol Smooth paper, and I'm just putting a little bit of color on to the areas where the color would be darkest, so where there would be more shading on these flowers. And I'm not even really worried about my coloring. I'm just putting some color down, and I'm going to be moving that color around with some water from my water brush. Now these zigs are kind of like a watercolor brush marker, so once you add water to it on this Bristol Smooth paper, it is going to start moving around and kind of acting like watercolor. So I really love these with the Bristol Smooth. I think if you want to get a quick watercolor look, these are a great way to go. So I'm just moving that color around with my water brush, coming up from the bottom and leaving it a little bit white on the top, and that's going to kind of give the impression of a highlight on the top of the flower. Maybe the light is coming in from the top, and the bottom portion of my petals are going to be darker. Now I do like to layer several colors together with my zigs, but in order to do that, I like to let my flower dry before I put the next layer on. So that's why you see that yellow flower there. I put my color on my pink flower, I went and I colored my yellow flower, and I'm coming back with my second color of pink on my pink flower. So if you have a lot of die cut pieces to color, you can go ahead and put the first layer down on all of them, and by the time you're done with that, the first flower that you started with might be dry enough to put your next layer of color on. So that's a quicker way that you can go ahead and just color all of your flowers. Again, I'm just going ahead and spreading that color out with my water brush, not coming up quite as high. I want to leave some of that lighter pink going towards the top. And then with my darkest color, which is actually a purple here, I'm just putting a tiny bit on the bottom. I don't need a lot. These zigs are actually really concentrated with color. A little bit of color goes a long way. So I always tell people to just put a little bit of color on. If you feel like you need more, you can put a little bit more, but it's always easier to add color in. It's not as easy to take it away. So I like to go slowly with my pigment, build it up instead of putting a lot on at once and then finding that I've got too much color. So I've got all of these pieces watercolored, and I'm just going to go ahead and start assembling. So you get these fun little stems that fit right into your little gloved hand here, and you can put any of the flowers on top. So whatever you choose for this hand to be holding, you can just kind of interchange them. You get several stems, and you can always cut as many as you want, and you could even put a whole bouquet in this hand. I just decided to put one flower in their hand today. And so I'm going to go ahead and use my zigs on my card base as well. Now, this might look a little funny. I'm just doing a little zigzag kind of line here with my blue, and then I'm going to take my water brush and just blend that out as well. This is, again, on Bristol Smooth paper because my zigs move really well on this paper. Even watercolor paper, I don't get quite as good results, so I cannot recommend the Bristol Smooth enough when you are using your zigs. But I just want to go ahead and blend out this color here, and it kind of makes it look like watercolor brush strokes. And then after it's dry, I'm going to put my sentiment on top of this watercolored area. Now, the sentiment, like I mentioned, is the Glimmer Kit for June, and I'm going to give you a look at that Glimmer Kit, and I absolutely love it. It came with some black foil this month, and I think it looks really nice with the sentiment that came along with it. It gives you a nice black shiny sentiment, and I always love that on my cards, and I think that black foil looks really nice against those bright flowers that I colored. It just makes it pop. So I'm just going ahead making sure I'm smoothing out a lot of this color here. It just kind of looks like a zigzaggy watercolor brush strokes on the back of my card. Gives a little bit more interest without doing anything too super crazy, and I just had fun with this card. I think this one turned out really nice. So here is the Glimmer Kit for June. I'm just going to lay all of these out. If you can't read backwards, these are all kinds of different sentiments. There's a happy birthday and many more. There's congrats on your special day. The best is yet to come. A little note of thanks. And then there is a thanks. Friends make everything better. Sorry, I'm reading that backwards. But here are the sentiments after you get them foiled out. I love that scripty font. I think it just looks really cute along with these flowers. This is the first card that I've made, and we're working on our second one in that similar style. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my glimmer plate on top of that area that I watercolored. You do want to make sure that your watercolor is dry before you go ahead and foil. I have had foil kind of stick to those wet areas before. But if you get a little bit of foil sticking where it doesn't need to go, you can always take a little sand eraser and erase away some of that foil. Make sure you do it really gently so you don't take any of your cardstock off. But I went ahead and foiled that. I'm just peeling my foil back, and you can see how cute this little sentiment is. So now that I have my sentiment all glimmered, I'm going to go ahead and assemble my flowers. So here are my flower pieces. I'm just going to show you how this little layering one goes together. I've put down a little bit of glue and I'm adding the top of my little stem here. And then I'm putting a little foam circle over that stem. It's going to stick to the glue, but it's also going to give a little bit of dimension for this top petal that I'm also gluing on. I'm also putting some glue on the sides and on the top of that foam adhesive. I just want to make sure everything stays in place. And then I'm going to put my petals down, and this is really going to give a little bit more dimension. You don't have to put that foam piece there. You can just glue your little petals on. But I like that dimension on that flower. I like that it's looking like it's popping off my page, and that hand is just giving you a really pretty bloom to brighten your day. So you can go ahead and just slip that into your gloved hand. You can also put some leaves on that if you want to. I chose not to this time because I didn't want it obstructing that sentiment in the background. But I'm also taking all my other little flower pieces, assembling them, and just layering them down on the bottom of my card. I'm going to tuck some of those leaves in there around the side as well. And my card panel that I'm working on right now is cut down just slightly smaller than my card base. So I have a little bit of room that even if some of these die cuts are kind of peeking off the side, they're still going to be on top of my card base and they're still going to be fine. So I've gone ahead and I've put my card front onto my card base. I've got all of my flowers glued down, and that kind of finishes the card. So I have two similar cards here made with the Glimmer kit for June and with the small die kit for June. I hope that gives you a good look at the kit this month. I hope it gives you some ideas and inspiration on creating on your own. If you liked this video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, tap the bell for notification, comment, share, and do all the things. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.